I need to talk about the live-action Black Butler adaptation. I haven't seen anyone else talk about it, and if there is, I was probably not looking hard enough, but either way, I want to make a video talking about it because I have thoughts. First, I think it would be best if I point out a couple of things, just in general, just so that we are on the same page. Like, what is the movie even about? Well, I think that the first thing I'm going to address right away is that unlike the rest of the Kuroshitsuji series, this movie does not take place in the Victorian era. It takes place in the year of 2020.
Мистер Бист, рис, Мистер Бист ест рис. Посмотри вниз, там Мистер Бист каратист, Мистер Бист юрист, Мистер...
Yeah, it aged like milk. They should have been stuck at home playing Among Us or Friday Night Funkin' or something. Though, to be fair, the movie was made in 2014, which were honestly simpler times. I mean, I wasn't on the internet back then. If you were on the internet at the time or prior, please tell me what that was like in the comments. But I do know that Roblox was a thing in 2014 though, so like, honestly they should have made Shiori a Roblox kid. That would have been the funniest thing ever. Shiori is Ciel's descendant, which, I have to be honest, it just seems to be an excuse for them to justify why Ciel is a girl in this movie. But basically, Shiori is cross-dressing as a guy in the rest of the movie. Mainly because you're supposed to be a guy to be an earl or something. Weirdly enough, it is also mentioned that Kiyoharu is the 4th earl, which makes me wonder how many earls there have been. Did the Phantom Hives take a hiatus or something? My friends and I have been trying to use math, honestly, when we were watching the movie or we were just talking about it in general. But in retrospect, it is likely they just meant 4th Earl from the Genpos and not counting the Phantom Hives. If that's the case, I suppose that does make more sense than the Phantom Hives taking a hiatus or something. Anyway, with that all out the way, it's time to get into the synopsis. Basically, England and Japan have been at war. They are constantly referring to it as East versus West, but to be honest, it is very clear they are talking about Japan and England. Which, to be completely honest, it would have been a lot more accurate if they changed England with America. But anyway, there is this serial killer that's been out there killing people, and Shiori, the Earl of Genpo and the Queen's watchdog, has been given the task to solve the mystery. So, basic Black Butler stuff. In fact, the first scene where we do see Shiori does parallel with the scene that actually happens in the manga and the anime. It's just with some differences, obviously. I must say though, I love the scene a lot. It's a great introduction to the movie. Shiori taking off the wig the way she did is very epic. Though I must say, given that Shiori is the Queen's watchdog, like the English Queen's watchdog, and she lives in Japan when England and Japan are at war, would that mean that Shiori is committing treason? That's what I was initially thinking, but yeah, they eventually said exactly that, like, she's actually being searched for apparently, and she does have enemies. But anyway, Shiori and Sebastian investigated the scene with the latest death, and the Undertaker was also asked to help, which, can I just talk about how they, Johnny Depp, Willy Wonka-ified him? One of my friends also compared me to the Johnny Depp Mad Hatter, which, honestly, I can see that as well. Safe to say they did Johnny Deppify him either way.
Good morning, Starshine. The Earth says hello!
Which, on one hand, I will say is not exactly shade on him. Like, I do think the design looks pretty good, but honestly I do think they should have at least tried to make him look like the Undertaker. I was only able to gather the context based on his personality and the fact that he is clearly meant to be the Undertaker. Also, this will be the last time you see the Undertaker. Honestly though, in terms of looks, I must also address Sebastian's appearance. But honestly, my biggest and only issue with that would be his hair, which I wouldn't think is that big of a deal. It's just his hair after all, but he is the titular character, like he's the face of the series. It is not like his canon hairstyle is ridiculous and would look stupid in the setting he's in. Like, it's not like he has JoJo's Bizarre Adventure ass hair. And it's not like they cannot make the characters look like they did in the source either. Shiori still looks like CL, and Meirin and Tanaka are also here, and they look like their anime counterparts as well. Like, there is no excuse that can justify the fact that Sebastian's hair looks like shit. Other than the fact that there's maybe an in-universe explanation that Sebastian wanted a stupid hairstyle anyway. But anyway, before you ask about Meirin and Tanaka and what excuses the writing decided to give for their existence, because as I said, this is a time skip. But Rin is Meirin's descendant. Apparently her family has been serving the Phantom Hives for generations as well. And as for Tanaka, now there's no explanation for that, and his name is also Tanaka, so I just like to believe that Tanaka just doesn't age. In fact, this is something that I also realize upon editing, but can I just talk about how the ageless entities that are supposed to be like directly from the source, like they look drastically different, but then these characters, like again Shiori, Meirin, etc., they look literally the same as their supposed ancestors. This guy was going to a party, so Shiori asked her aunt to help her sneak in. Now, I forgot what the aunt's name is, so I'll just call her Madam Red, which you will understand why later, I promise. So then with her mumbo jumbo, she managed to get Shiori and Rin to go to the party. And honestly, the most unrealistic partying sequence I've ever seen then shows up. Like, I don't know, man. I don't think that clubbing and partying goes that over the top. But then again, it's a party consisting of rich people, and I am very far from rich, so what do I know? Maybe this is a typical rich people party. Either way, Shiori and Rin then get captured, and at the same time the party gets interrupted because 3 people wearing white pointy masks showed up holding plates. And if you wonder why the masks look like KKK hoods, good question, because I don't know either. It was certainly a wild choice on their part, and I was trying to look up and see if there were any cultural explanations for this, but I couldn't find anything. If you're Japanese though, and I might have missed something, please comment, but anyway, the KKK guys will then reveal the new drugs, called necrosis, and essentially it's a gas kind of drug. So squeezing it will cause you to feel the effects, and it'll kill you, unless you take the antidote, which you require 2 of, because if you take only 1, you will get brain damage. I'm not sure how much I can show of this. If it's too graphic, I will put it on Ko-fi. Like, there will be an exclusive uncensored version on my Ko-fi if that happens. Oh yeah, meanwhile Sebastian is distracted playing with a cat. Also, there are plenty of scenes where Sebastian is just playing with cats, and those are some of my favorite scenes. It's just very in character for him, what can I say? And then, either way, he then went to do what he was asked and found the place where there were drugs. And he took those drugs, which is another really funny scene. Anyway, then he finally goes to his butchan. But she already saved herself and Rin. Oh yeah, can I just talk about the way Sebastian says butchan?
Butchan. Butchan. 기여하るbutchan.
Like, this movie is not an exception, of course, and I do prefer Ono's voice the most for Sebastian, but the actor really did a good job at making the way he says Butchan sound as sexually charged as possible. Like, honestly, I think I should make a Sebastian tier list sometime. But he really did a good job on that. After this, Shiori gives Charles the information that she gathered in this party about this drug, and then she has to find the evidence. I think that at this point I should also get into some Shiori lore because it does become relevant for the rest of this movie. It is literally the same as Ciel's backstory. Her parents get killed, she gets branded, she makes a contract with Sebastian. And in the scene where the backstory gets explained, it's actively stated that Sebastian has served the Phantom Hives for generations. Now, most Sebastiel shippers, primarily on Tumblr, interpreted it as Sebastian being so devoted to Ciel that he served the Phantom Hives for generations to come. For the JoJo fans here, it's kinda like a Speedwagon thing. Personally, I would have believed that too, and I really love that scenario for them. But then there was the fact that Shiori did forge a soul contract with him. And also there's the fact that Madame Red did say something about the Phantom Hives having this curse where someone makes a deal with the devil. So, with all this, my personal theory is that the Phantom Hives have this weird thing going on where every 2 generations there is someone who has beef with a family, calls an assassin on them, traffics the orphaned child, and this child will forge a contract with Sebastian. Anyway, now that I did bring up Madame Red though, I'm going to talk about her as well because her backstory is also relevant. Although her actual name, like, I don't know her actual name anymore, like, I forgot about that, and her backstory is literally the same as Madame Red's. Like, she was in love with her sister's man, she lost her ability to get children, and she's a backstabbing bitch. I think she's the saving grace of this movie though. The actress really understood the assignment, she did a great job portraying the backstabbing bitch-ass antagonist that Madame Red is supposed to be, and I love her. Oh yeah, did I mention that Madame Red is the antagonist in this movie? Like, she's kinda the twist villain, if you will. I also realized now that I neglected to point this out as well, but Madame Red is also the one who hired the hitman on Shiori's parents. Her reasoning? Go off, Queen. It also turned out that she also played a role in making those drugs. You see, she wanted to not age, basically, so the drugs that she gets, which also help her seizures, are basically anti-aging drugs. But the necrosis and the antidote for that are a byproduct, I suppose. This same scene would also explain how the drugs were made. And apparently they used the young women from the beginning of the movie to make these. And then the funniest thing ever happens in this movie. And it's all because of the way Shiori phrases this next scene. Like, I know how serious it is and all that, but the way she phrased it threw me off. But yeah, Madame Red had plans to bomb the church with the necrosis and frame Shiori for it. Cue epic fighting scene between Sebastian and Madame Red's sidekick. I don't remember him being named, like, ever. All I can gather is that he's basically a combination of Grell and Agni. Grell in the sense that he is Madame Red's sidekick, and Agni with the whole superhuman thing. Honestly, it makes me sad because I literally cannot care enough about that character. But Madame Red and Shiori are also fighting. The necrosis pill that was in Shiori's hand got squished, and then both she and Madame Red inhaled the gas. Red was going to take the antidotes that she initially had, but then she found out that Shiori stole them and stepped on both of them, just destroying them. And then you have the second scene of Sebastian doing drugs. This time he takes a whole bottle. Then you also reveal that he had 2 more antidotes left, which he was going to give to Shiori. But Shiori didn't care, and with a persuasion, Red got her to give her the drugs. But then she took it, and it turned out that it was actually necrosis dyed with Sebastian's blood. Then she combusted and died. After this, Shiori remembered the bomb, took it upstairs, and then Sebastian just did not give a shit because he interpreted it as suicide, and he didn't think it would work. But it did, and she was still like experiencing the effects from the drug that she initially activated. But it's okay. Sebastian had the antidote and kissed her. You heard me right. He kissed her. This is the closest thing we get to a Sebastiel kissing scene. And Sebastian didn't even have a reason to do that. He could have just put the pills in her mouth. Though, apparently Toboso didn't like it, and I did briefly go over it in a previous video. The closest thing to her being against Sebastiel is this tweet about a live-action movie, about how she did not want any romance between Sebastian and Shiori. But this could very well be her not wanting Sebastiel to be a straight ship. If you haven't seen the full video, please watch it after this one. But to go over it in more depth, anti-Sebastiel people have interpreted this tweet from her showing dislike towards the idea of there being a romance in the movie as her not liking Sebastiel at all. And to be fair for them, that is the closest thing to proof that they have to her saying that. And I guess you want whatever proof you can get to point out and say, lol, checkmate Sebastiels. But honestly, let's read the actual tweet. For the live-action movie, I heard that Ciel will be a woman, and although I had no say in the casting, I asked I would appreciate if there was no romance with the butler. It was just a verbal promise, but he kept it. I am still grateful to Mizushima-san and Goriki-san and everyone else involved. To me, it looks more like she made a request after she found out that they're making Ciel a girl, which, as a Fujo myself, I'm gonna say if I were to make a boy-on-boy love story and it got an adaptation where they make one of the guys in the relationship a girl, I wouldn't like it either. Like, yeah, no, all this proves is that she just did not like the idea of Sebastiel being straight. Of course, there is no evidence of her liking Sebastiel at all, but there's no evidence against it either. And as I said in my previous video, there is more evidence of her being in favor of Sebastiel in general than there being evidence against it. But anyway, the movie isn't over yet, so let me go back to that. But basically, it would end with them going back to the mansion, Shiori sending the drugs to Charles, and the closest thing to a canon Dead Bastion moment also happens. And then the movie is over. By the way, I thought that scene was cringe, but whatever. What are my thoughts? I think it's obvious from the way I've been talking about it is that I did not really like it. When I was watching the live action movie for the first time, the copium I've been taking to somewhat improve my watch experience was to just treat it like a modern AU and tell myself that Ciel is a trans boy. I had canon him as such anyway, so it's not like that much changed. In fact, not really much of the movie changes if you watch it from that lens, like, aside from the whole descendant stuff, but you can just overlook that. Especially considering that the supposed descendants are the same as the original counterparts anyway. Like, especially Ciel and Mayrin. Oh my god, they didn't even try. To be honest, I really think that the descendant thing has really just been more the writing trying to justify why Ciel is a girl, which they didn't have to do that. They could have just kept him a boy. Like, Ciel has always been played by a woman. This won't be that different. But hey, live action adaptations for manga and anime have never really had the best reputation. And this is the typical quality you would expect of those. There are of course some exceptions exceptions. Some are really bad, like Netflix's Death Note. And some are surprisingly good, like Netflix's One Piece. This one though, I'd say it's meh. It has its negatives, but at least I had some fun watching it. I think that's about it in terms of what I have to say. If you like this video and want to see more, please subscribe to this channel. If you want to help by supporting me financially, my Ko-fi is in the description. And I have added a few more things to the shop, so please check that out too. Any form of support will be appreciated, and I do use it to improve my content further, as well as my living situation. As you can see, I did purchase a new microphone, which I'm using right now, and I do hope that my voice is a lot clearer than it has been in my older videos. But yeah, bye!